Hello, everybody. Today I'll talk a little bit more about the proprietary system. So I think we should probably move this right here. Let's go to our model. So I guess to start off with, why? So when I let me rephrase this. For AmpyFin, we're trying to be transparent. So you might be asking, well, you have this fine-tuned model. Why don't you just release it? Um, Very good question, I'd say. Except I think there's two things. Actually, no, three things. Three things. So the first thing is there was a lot of money poured into this, and this was through, you know, academic works. This was through, my own my own money as well. Training this. So I guess if you're asking about like, how much money went into this, I can't give you an example, but to be honest, because it's been 3 years and I can't account for every, spending I did. So I guess you could say there was a lot of, you know, there was a lot of work with servers involved. Right now we're using 83 Oracle servers and we're using 8 of them. So that's already about a good 1,500 per month. Yeah, about there. We also use data from Intrinio, which is 6,000 per annual. But we're going to move to DataBento for that. And there's also a lot of different there's a lot of different, I guess, spendings that we did to fine tune our model. Oh yes, and ChatGPT Pro is $200 plus. So yeah, that's that as well. And we should probably update this actually. We don't use web scraping anymore. So I guess that's the first reason. A lot of money was poured into this. Second, a lot of time was poured into this. It started in 2021 of freshman year, so it's been roughly 4 years now. I say 3 years, but this has been roughly 4 years in the making. In training, fine tuning, lots of trials and errors. So that's what happened. And I think from there, I we learned a lot. By me, I think I'd probably say I, because I was working on this project the most. But I learned a lot. In the beginning, I knew about basic strategies, how to buy stocks, sell stocks, what does it mean to go long, what does it mean for it to be a bull market, what does the momentum strategy means reversion, yeah, all that arbitrage, all that. But I think building this out, I was able to learn a lot about the software engineering side, the the AI side, and simple learning in general. So yeah, I think I was able to learn a lot. So I think by releasing the fine-tuned model, I think the big reason is a lot of money was poured into this, a lot of time was poured into this, but also by releasing the fine-tuned model, I'd probably be robbing, people of their learning opportunities. And I think those three reasons, are why I don't release the fine-tuned model. Um, Number one, number two are big. Number three is sort of the moral ground. Go like, I don't want to rob people of the learning opportunities. People say, BS, but I, I think I really do believe that, by building on this framework, people fine tuning it, they'll be able to learn a lot about, what the training and testing process is like. And yeah, that's that. So in terms of data collection, what data do we use? So we use two types of data. We use data that we're able to get from the internet, and and that is mainly, when I say internet, I mean in terms of LLMs, what can an LLM retrieve up to date? And we used to use web scraping. We used to use Beautiful Soup for. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are aware of that. But that was a disaster. Okay, so I think yes, we did use Benzinga, MarketBeat, MarketWatch, but when we tried using these three, the way they had it was you had to pay a subscription per I think month as well. But we kind of wanted to avoid that. We were trying to cut costs a little bit, so we developed a script that scrapes all these data. But big websites they tend to change their HTML structure from time to time, and when they do that, our script is useless. So web scraping was out of the box. We also tried to use third-party websites. So I think third-party websites they're a little bit less likely to update the HTML. They're focusing on something else, so they're less likely to you know mess up their HTML structure. Um, so script was running perfectly with theirs from time to time, and I'll go back to perfectly in a bit. But the way we did it was we so if you persistently call API calls from a single IP, the website's gonna flag it. It's gonna think of it as a DOS attack or something like that. Even though it's not, we're just calling API. But that's how it's pretty much done. The way we did it was we had like instead of persistently calling the API call in the same time interval, we did it in a random time interval. So like wait, like let's say like 3 milliseconds to some milliseconds. I forgot. I can't remember the top of my head, but that's how we did it. And also, after a random number of calls between 1 to 10 of API, 1 to 10 API calls between let me rephrase this. After 1 to 10 API calls, and that 1 to 10 number is done using random module, we reassign our IP. Pretty much, I think it was DHCP IP, but we ask our router to reassign our IP. So it looks like different IPs are, trying to retrieve that data from the third-party website. The third-party website thinks, it's different unique users, and they're just trying to visit the website and everything. But actually, no, it was just us. So my apologies to those third-party websites, but we're not doing that anymore, by the way. Right now, we're using OpenAI Pro Plus to get all this data. So when I say data, we're getting analyst ratings. That's primarily one of them. We're also getting institutional holdings and portfolio changes. That's primarily through market beat that we're monitoring. We have a fine-tuned LLM that's tracking solely market beat for, what investment company bought this, what investment company sold this. Um, Also, 13F reports. That's also under data we have. So I think the beautiful thing about, trading in general is there's so much data out there and there's a lot of, opportunities for machine learning models to, get that data, do things with it, and then output something. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity there, and we decided to try to use the LLM for that. The second thing is, the price history, the price. Price is very important. So for those, we use technical indicators, and these technical indicators, they're optimized. So in a way, I guess momentum is a very short-term indicator. So we, programmatically just kind of made it short-term. There's a lot of indicators, but we do it so like, I think there's like, I can't remember how many indicators we have for technical, but it was close to, including custom made, we have about 1,300 somewhere there, including the open source T11 ones. And in terms of the data collection for the LLMs, we have about, I'd say well over 5,000 data points, data access points for those. So, when I say data access points, investment company holdings, analyst ratings, things of those natures. So yeah, that's that. Yes, so the dual model approach. So this is also a little bit very outdated, but it's more of the, seven model approach. We have different models. We have there's also another model that's not as used as this much, but it's very important. It's called the Helix model, but we don't have that because it's not very used often. These two models are the most used. The hyper model, which is for low volatility, and the prag model, which is for high volatility. So this is, specifically trade when the stocks are going up, you use the hyper model and you try to, you're trying to basically ride that curve. Actually, no, not just ride that curve. You're trying to make it even steeper so, gain more profit. And it's supposed to, outpace outpace SPY, outpace like anything that's, uh, holding physical asset, not, not trading, leverage. So if it's leveraged, the hypermodel probably isn't gonna, do well compared to leverage. Well, right now it's doing better than QQQ, but if QQQ was going up, hypermodel probably wouldn't catch that, to be honest. I'm not sure if it will, but because hypermodel doesn't use leverage. If it did, it probably will outpace QQQ. The Prag model, on the other hand, is for when there's high volatility. So it's designed to manage risk and find opportunities. And when I say opportunities, it's more of like I think I forgot what strategy it was, but there's strategies where it kind of examines before that market collapse, before that high volatility, how is the stock performing, and then looks at another instance how it was performing before that market collapse or not market collapse that during high volatility, and then from there it kind of manages rankings how based on I think the strategy was how quickly the stock recovers, something like that. Yeah, there's a strategy like that. There's different strategies, but they're all ranked differently in the prag model compared to the hyper model. So the prag model, it would still make some profits when the market is going up, but it's not going to make as much profit as the hyper model, which is why switching between different models is very very crucial for AmpyFin. For AmpyFin, I think reaction time between switching models, the hybrid, the prag, and the helix, and there's also 4 different models. That's very crucial because let's say like one day, it being slow in like one day, right? It could result in something like this happening. So I think this was originally 32%, but now it's 29.47. QQQ was like 4%. So QQQ went down harder, but AmpyFin also went down. And the way we're trying to do it is, I think AmpyFin's reaction time to that market market down was about, it took a whole day for it to do it, so which is not acceptable. So that's something we're constantly exploring on how to perfect. But yeah, that's that. We talked about the dual model, the training methodology. Yes. So each model it begins with randomly generated settings to ensure diversity. So I guess like we don't use the exact, the open source model in terms of, initializing parameters. I think for each strategy, for each agent, there's about 82 parameters that are configured and they're randomly generated. And yeah, that's how they should be. And that's how they train. And the rankings are, switched over like that. So the ranking system is the same as the one on the GitHub. And after that training, comes the testing. And testing is done using these parameters. It looks at these 8 parameters with varying importance. I think the R value and the max drawdown and the CAGR and the win-loss ratio is very important. Those 4. And then it probably looks at Sortino Sharp very, critically, and then these 2. And then we still track, dozens of additional performance metrics. But I think there was a golden number. I'm not going to reveal what the number was, but some amount of metrics, and metrics are given different weights. They have to outperform the current deployed model for there to be like a contention that we're going to replace our current model with, the newly trained model. And there's rigorous training as always. You know, if it does manage to outdo the current model, then we rigorously tested for 26 different backtesting models. So the way it works is it's going to flag. So if, I guess certain number of metrics are more favorable for the new model, then it's going to flag for someone to, say, hey, I want you to test this against the current model. And we have 26 different backtesting periods. 2 are made public, which is, what we have over here. And these, backtesting periods, these are real backtesting periods. These aren't like, any of the training periods we have where we kind of skew some data, we kind of like flip some bits, randomly flip some bits, things like that. So yeah. And also these test data, yes, they are live, but sometimes I think there was 3. We don't have as many as over here. These over here, the data is mutated. Over here, it's not. It's mostly, proper data. Sometimes it adds randomly skewed for control purposes. So yeah. And if the testing model outperforms the current deployed model in these 26 different tests, not these tests, this test over here, then it's flagged for manual review, and then it goes to additional scrutiny and competitive testing against the deployed model. If it does well, then we're going to release it. And yeah, the framework is consistent. The ranking and the trading logic, it is the same. It's almost the same actually as the open source model. The only difference is the T and lib indicators. We have about 82 to 90 parameters. I think for here it only has about 5, I think, parameters. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And yeah, I think pretty much covered it all. So yeah, thank you for listening and hope you have a good day. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to comment.